We don't rise by going, right? We don't rise above by escaping. You don't grow when you just try to move on. I want to start with the story about my grandfather, Banarsi Das Saraf, who was a freedom fighter against the British during the revolution. And of course, India gains independence, but as it turns out, on the day that my father was born, my Dadaji, my grandfather, was sitting in jail during the Gandhi movement. So I grew up with stories about my grandfather. He was this tenacious survivor who always fought for what he believed was the right thing to do. Of course, India gains independence. My dad grows up in total uncertainty because even though there was an independence, there was chaos, the economy's in turmoil, and our family business, we were jewelers, was struggling. And from one day to the next, my dad didn't know if they would make it. Eventually, he gets this dream. He's gonna come to America to achieve the dream. I think many of you can relate to that, right? So he marries my mom and comes, and they believe that with this simple idea, if they work hard enough and get the best education, they can succeed in America. So they come with $8 in their pocket and they do all the things. They get their master's degrees and their PhD degrees, eventually law degrees. And along the way, I'm born, Rashmi, which as many of you know is the rays of the morning sun. In other words, the dawn of a new day. And I'm born into this legacy of courage, of justice, of continuing to fight even when things are hard, and to try new things, no matter the uncertainty, no matter the fear. And so my entire childhood, I believed that all of my self-worth, all of my value, and why people loved me was because I had to be successful. And the more I achieved, the more people loved me. And this was not that somebody told me this. This was like a self-imposed belief I put on myself. Can any of you relate to that? Yeah? So when I'm 10, I had been arguing with my dad in the car, like this is what I did. I would find anything to argue with my dad about. So we're in the car, my dad turns to me and says, "You know, you like to argue so much, you should be a lawyer one day. You're smart, you're confident, and then you can argue with whoever you want." So I was like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna be a lawyer. And let me tell you what, from that day forward, success meant I was gonna be the best lawyer I could be. Okay, but to get there, I had to go to the best schools, win all the awards, get all the degrees, and make a lot of money. And if I just follow this plan, it'll work for me, right? My parents were in real estate, and they went from having nothing to making it to losing it. They had to file bankruptcy. We lost this home to foreclosure, and we ended up in this small rental home a block from my high school. Let me tell you, we figured out who our friends were really fast. And I watched my parents carry like everything that they had into this small house. And yeah, we cried a lot. My dad would hide in the bathroom to cry. But my parents never lost hope. They honored me and my two sisters with the truth, which was, no matter what, we can rise through it. We can get past this. And they surrounded our family with love and faith and hope. But I'm a senior in high school, and I decide, if I just do all the right things and I follow this plan, I can avoid this struggle that I have watched my parents and I know my grandparents went through. Like, I'm never gonna go through that, right? Boy, was I wrong. But isn't it the universal truth that we will all struggle? Right? As entrepreneurs, every one of you is facing struggle every day. Whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's like, am I gonna achieve the revenue growth I want, right? We are all struggling, and it could be medical, legal, financial, marital. We all go through something. So it's not a matter of if, it's when. So when we go through those moments of fear, uncertainty, change, disruption, how do we get through them? And today I want to walk you through this 3-part process: embrace, let go, dare. But let's go back to what happens. I eventually go to UNC Chapel Hill, graduate with highest honors. I went on to Wall Street and worked at Morgan Stanley. And then I went on to Columbia Law School. Also, won all the awards. So I was on the path. By all accounts, I've got this leadership thing figured out, and I'm successful. I have achieved the love that I wanted. I get married to a firefighter. I have these 2 beautiful children. But now I have my own little real estate title company, and I am moving like at light speed, meaning I am going to every possible networking event. I'm going to every possible journey that I can go onto into meeting people. I'm trying to sell my services at the gym. I never got to dinner. I start having marital problems. I was moving at the fast pace of life that we all get caught up in, right? Does this sound familiar? We're just moving around the race course of life so fast that I don't even remember when this picture was taken, guys. Because I thought that if I just keep working, I can get to that dream. And so I was forgetting that I was putting all this pressure on myself, and everything I was working so hard to get to, I wasn't even enjoying, because I was just stuck in this race. And the thing is when we have pressure, we end up in this self-imposed prison with glass walls that we don't even realize are there. And it looks like overwhelm, anxiety, fear, uncertainty, status quo, right? So the problem is when you have pressure, you also have blind spots. But when you have pressure, when you have blind spots, you might make a decision that is not in alignment with these values, right? It's not like we're constantly thinking about them. They're not looking at us in the face every time. And pressure exposes blind spots. And blind spots breed bad decisions. I ended up making some bad decisions. And I didn't know it at the time because I just wanted the client and I wanted to work with him. So eventually, the FBI visits me 4 years after I meet the developer. Has anybody been visited by the FBI? It's super freaking scary. And I know that I'm supposed to know this stuff, but when the FBI knocked on my door, I didn't know that I could say to them, hey, can I take a card and I'll call you when I have an attorney with me? And they're counting on the fact that I'm not gonna have an attorney with me. So guess what I did? I brought them into my office, we sat at a circular table, and they grilled me for 4 hours. They asked me questions. They showed me documents and emails and attachments and pictures, and I'm answering these questions, yes, no, as if I actually remember what happened 4 years earlier. Nobody has that kind of memory, right? They leave, 2 years go by, I get a grand jury subpoena. Now I'm still operating under this pretense that I haven't done anything wrong because all my files have already passed audit. It's 6 years later. I don't even do transactional work anymore. Dad and I started our own litigation practice, and I have this pleasure of working with my dad now. Within 3 months, my attorney calls me into his office and says, you're a target. Now, I didn't even know what that meant. I'm not a criminal lawyer. I didn't know what that meant. Once he explained it to me, I was shaking uncontrollably. Because this was my whole life. This was everything I had worked so hard for, and all I'm thinking about is, oh my God, I have disgraced my parents. I have disgraced my community. I sit on a lot of boards in Miami. How will I ever come back from this? So eventually I get indicted for 1 count of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and 24 counts of bank fraud. I then went, and eventually my attorney told me, he brought my parents in and he said, Rashmi, I get it. I've known this guy 20 years, by the way. He's like a friend. And he said, Rashmi, if you go to trial, this is what's going to happen. The government's going to stand up and show their case and evidence. We're going to stand up and show our defense, and then they're going to stand up and rebut. And I'm telling you right now, if you go to trial, you're going to lose. And you're looking at 20 years. Like, you will miss your kid's whole life. And I get it, you didn't walk into this planning a crime. But here's the thing, as a leader, as a business owner, and as an attorney, you had a fiduciary duty to do more, to ask the questions you didn't ask. And not doing something is still doing something wrong. I'm going to say it again. Not doing something is still doing something wrong. And I was scared because, again, I was convinced that as soon as I called and told people what I had done, they were going to hang up on me. So I called like my family, my friends from elementary school, high school, college, my Morgan Stanley days, my law school days, my kids' friends' parents, my kids' teachers. When I tell you that I took accountability and I called every person that I knew that had any inkling or idea of my history or character, 182 people wrote letters of support to the judge for me. And it was like I got eulogized before I died. And let me tell you what, I had spent my whole life thinking that people loved me for my achievement and for my success. And what I learned is that people are very forgiving of our humanity if we give them the chance to love on us, to understand who we are as human beings, because we are all flawed human beings, yes? One of my friends said, you stood naked and exposed for the entire world to judge you, and we did. We don't rise by going, right? We don't rise above by escaping. You don't grow when you just try to move on and sweep everything under the rug, right? Your problems and your franchises are not going to go away if you just keep avoiding them. There's no growth happening in that case. So I was now a number. I was no longer Rashmi. I was 05121-104. And my kids came to visit me. So orange is my brand color only because it is the color of transformation, not because it was orange is the new black. My color in prison was safari green, and I will never wear safari green again. I'm a little traumatized. And the kids would play games with me when they visited me. They would like buy stuff from the vending machine, and all they wanted to do was love on me and hug me and kiss me. Because isn't that what our kids want? They just wanted to know I was safe. This is when I realized that I can dare to recreate my life. I can dare to move forward, to rise through anything that I go through. Like, I thought I could avoid the struggle, and clearly life gave me a massive struggle to deal with. But every time I've shared my story, I realize the power of this. The recognition that when nothing feels right, if we can embrace, let go, and dare, we can rise through it. When you go through life's hard moments, you have a responsibility to share it so that nobody else will make those same errors, mistakes, judgments. I am living my grandfather's legacy. What will be your legacy? What is your why? How can you leave this conference and achieve next level growth in the way you think, in the compassion that you bring to your teams, in the way you lead, in the way you interact with children and parents in your communities, in the way you market? What will be your legacy? What's one thing you can dare to do today, tomorrow, when you get back to the office on Monday, to move towards this legacy of why you bought or with a LightBridge franchise? But what will my legacy be? Well, I hope that when my kids are fighting a fight, that they'll think of their great-grandfather, my